Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. Today I'm going to be introducing you to our new black tea from Yunnan province, and I'm excited to unbox these Duanni pots. Before we get into that, let's focus on the tea. It's a rainy day here in London, so if you're hearing the pitter-patter of rain on my skylight here, then just think of it as a lovely atmospheric addition to the video. This is our new black tea. It's called Honeycomb Black. It's worth saying from the outset that I have actually tasted this tea multiple times because it's been sitting with us for about a month, and I've really enjoyed it. So I've been diving in and dipping in and having sessions. So this is not a blank tasting, but I'm going to give you my impressions of this tea. Now, I promised myself that I was not going to purchase Yunnan Dianhong tea this year. So Dianhong just means a black tea from Yunnan province, and is often characterized by these very golden buds. Now we have another tea called Golden Bud, which is another Dianhong, and we've got Cocoa Malt Queen, which is a tea from another province in China, but has a very similar malty, cocoa-y kind of note that I look for in a Dianhong. And so I said to myself, I'm not going to buy another Dianhong this year. But then, just like you, right? You promise yourself you're not going to buy any more tea. And then this sample arrived and I tasted it and I ummed and ahed, but I was pretty, sold from the first session that I needed to get this tea. This is a Dashu Dianhong. That means it comes from old tea trees, 100 plus, 150-year-old tea trees. So old tea trees, the vast majority of Dianhong teas out there are going to be coming from much younger tea trees. Let's quickly scope it. This is April 2022. The cultivar is the Daiyezhong variety. The origin is from Fengqing, the most famous and revered black tea producing area of Yunnan province. And it's, as I said, made from old trees, 100 to 150-year-old tea trees. The picking on this is going to be a bud and 1 or 2 leaves. It looks like a bigger picking, but that is mostly because of the type of tea trees that are going to be used for this picking. So you can see here, lovely combination of buds and leaves, very fat, furry buds, and even very furry leaves here as well. And the processing is going to be similar to other black teas from Yunnan. It's going to be picked, it's going to be withered, it's going to be rolled, it's going to be fermented, and then it's going to be sun-dried. And then the elevation is 1567 meters. I sort of smirk a little bit because it can never be that exact, but that's the information that the producer has given me. So let's call it 1,500 meters, give or take, but 1567 is what's going to be shown on the label. So this is a Dianhong tea, Yunnan Black, and we're going to get into the tasting of that. And I will tell you my impressions of how the Duanni affects it, because I've tasted it many times in porcelain. Right, so let's introduce you to our new pot. And those of you who have seen me out and about at various different tea events that I've attended in London, or maybe even on some of our videos, may have seen me trialing this pot because I really love it. This is the Duanni. We're calling it a barrel pot because of the shape of it, although the technical name for it is a bell pot. This is actually called a decadent pot. Decadent pot is the classical name for this shape, so you could call it a bell pot. We're calling it a barrel pot. This is from Huangjin Duanni Clay, so golden Duanni Clay from Huanglongshan, so it's authentic, high quality gold Duanni clay, similar to the lantern pot that we had before. It's made by Master Shoe Studios, and it's 180 ml because I felt like we needed to have a pot in our range which was more suited to, yes, you can have a session by yourself with it, as I am going to, but more suited to sort of 2, 3, 4 people sessions. So real community sessions, real bonding sessions. The shape of it, I really love. It's this sort of, what I love about it is the design is governed by the function, the functionality. Really lovely, large opening, so you can use this pot for all types of tea. You've got a ball filter inside here, So made from the same clay, very important. Ball filter, so that's gonna help, especially if you're gonna be brewing small leaf tea, and I'm gonna be using this today for black tea. And so black teas can get quite small in terms of their leaf size. And so it's gonna help to prevent clogging. Very functional in terms of its design. And I find that really, really beautiful. The simplicity and elegance of beautiful, functional design is something that in my older age, I really love. I find it has such a lovely profile for the eye. And when you look at it, you know it's gonna be your workhorse pot. You know, it's gonna be able to handle all teas and brew, you know, for all session sizes. It's a great, great size and shape, in my opinion. So this is made by Master Shoe Studios Golden Duanni barrel pot. Now we've only got a small number of these ones. When I say these ones, the one in this box is exactly the same, but it's got a design on it. So we bought some plain for those of you who want a plain pot. And if you do, then, you know, act quite quickly because we don't have that many, because I really have focused my attention and what I'm going to brew in today on this one here. I'm so excited to see this. We worked long and hard on trying to work out designs. We tried so many different designs on Duanni, like on Photoshop, just trying different designs out, seeing what would work. And, you know, needless to say, with all things design world, the designers out there will tell you the end result always feels like it should feel like it's just a natural, yeah, that makes sense, it works. But you go through so many iterations that don't work. And I am so happy with this. So this is engraved with, we're going to call it our connections design, because this is all about connections. This design, the connections between you and the leaf, the connections between you and everybody that you share your tea with, the connections between you and the producers, the connections that tea makes. So we're calling this our connections Huangjin Duanni barrel pot. Probably a lot of words, so it'll probably be reduced down. So connections Duanni barrel pot. I hope that you like the connections design that we've put on here. I don't know. Recently, I've been feeling like we're living in a world where we are sort of encouraged to sort of be partisan and fight with each other and argue. And, you know, there seems to be a celebration or the titillation around, you know, disagreements and arguments. And I felt like I needed a design that represented connection. It represented togetherness. It represented the fact that as human beings, we have so much more in common than our disagreements. And, you know, that tea is the great reminder of our connections with nature, connections with, you know, producers, connections with the actual act of brewing, but most importantly, connections with each other as we share tea together. So that's why this design was made. And it's been engraved in with this sort of slightly indigo black ink, which I think works really well with the Duanni. Okay, let's see how this baby performs. So I have obviously sampled this pot from Master Shoe Studios before, but a plain one. And, you know, the clay looks identical. I'm sure it's going to be the same clay. So if it is exactly like the sample I had, then the performance on it is beautiful as well. Really, really lovely, balanced, softening clay effect. So it's going to soften everything, but not shave off excessive high notes, which is the most important thing for me. Right. Let's pour this away. Let's actually heat up this Jingdezhen cup. We'll put some in here. Okay, here we go. Let's turn the design to you. Let's get this in. Whenever we're doing these designs, we always put it on the side of the pot that the brewer sees if you are right-handed, and I apologize if you are left-handed and that frustrates you. We can't, really do a left-handed and a right-handed version of the pot. Obviously, if you're left-handed, then your guests see the design more than you, but that's how we've sort of chosen to place the designs. It was actually a very, very long conversation quite a few years ago of where's the best place for designs. We tried both sides, but it just doesn't look right. For some reason, it looks more, it looks like a production line when it's on both sides, even if it's like handmade. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but this is a half handmade pot. Okay, here we go. So the thing that I love about this tea is the marriage between the warmth of cocoa, the warmth of oat biscuits, the warmth of caramel. I'm reminded of Rolos in the UK, which is like a milk chocolate with caramel inside. But imagine that they made a darker chocolate version of that. So dark chocolate, caramel, oat biscuits, one side. On the other side, I'm getting this lovely flowery note that I'm going to throw into the very broad descriptor of like purple flowers. So violets and lilacs and those kinds of flowers. So that's the sort of initial smell. And it is different from Golden Bud, and it is different from Cocoa Malt Queen, especially because of the caramel and those flowery notes. But we also have in it a lot of, there is fruit as well. And the fruit is in the dried cranberries, blackcurrant jam. You could say fruitcake. You could imagine a dark chocolate covered fruitcake. There's a slight savory note as well, which I would again move into the sort of bready territory. Like I said, did I say oat biscuits already? Oat biscuits can have a sort of savory quality to it. But I'm going to say something which is a bit odd, and some of you will get the reference, and those of you who get the reference some of you are going to go, ugh, and some of you are going to go, yum. It's very light, but it reminds me a little bit of the smell of like yeast extract, like Marmite kind of thing. But it's light. The majority is a lot of sweetness. And the reason why I couldn't really resist this tea was because of the complexity of it, the level of different notes that I was getting from it, and the minerality in it. And I'm interested because this is the first time I'm trying this tea in a Duanni pot, and this pot in particular. And I'm wondering how the mineral quality, which was very present in the brews that I did in porcelain, are going to translate here. I hope that it's not going to soften it too much to take away that mineral cooling quench that I'd noticed before. Let's have a sniff of these wet leaves. Okay, so in terms of the more woodsy notes, I'm getting some varnished wood. I'm getting some leather. So there's that backbone there. I'm getting a creamy quality too. I want to say hazelnut cream, roasted pecans. And the fruity note, that blackcurrant note, has moved a little bit more into a tamarind. So it's got a little bit more edge to it. dried tamarind, or those, you know, the tamarind that you can buy in their pods. So they're dried, but they're still very sort of sticky. Yeah, so there's this sort of tang in the nose that is more in the tamarind than the blackcurrant jam that we noticed before. But lots of nuts. Chocolate's still there. Move more into the milk chocolate, so more milk chocolate and caramel. Leathers, varnished woods, a little bit of cream, lots and lots of nuts. And then that tamarind fruitiness. Okay, let's try and do all of it together on the vessel. Keep things neat. So this is how I normally brew when I'm sitting at a desk doing my work. 180 ml pot. It's been a while since we've had a 180 ml pot. And I think that it's sort of overdue, because a lot of times, you know, the 120 mils, they're great, but when you're brewing for sort of 3-4 people, everybody's getting, you just want to give them a little bit more, you know, in terms of their serving. So this really allows you to do that. And as I said, I've been sort of doing a few events occasionally this year, and this has always been the pot that I've picked out, because I think apart from the look and you know, all of the qualities of it, the capacity, I think, is a really lovely capacity for, you know, medium to larger sessions, although of course you can brew by yourself. Cheers, everybody. Look at the color. You're going to focus, or you're going to be annoying. There you go. Look at the color. That's it's you know, first infusion. It's going to get a bit darker, but it's got a lovely sort of chestnut orange to it. Okay, cheers, everybody. Let's focus on texture first. I'm really interested to see how this tea performs in the Duanni. The Duanni definitely thickens it up. So when you look at the tasting notes, you'll probably see that it's very smooth, but medium thick. Here in the Duanni, I would move it into the category of thick. But I'm going to write the tasting notes according to porcelain, as I always do. But definitely the Duanni thickens it up, and definitely it makes it silkier and oilier. Okay, taste. I'm getting those pecans, but now they're more like candied pecans. So what's that called? Pralines. I think that candied pecans are pralines, or maybe pralines could be any candied nut. I'm not sure. Getting that. I'm getting cocoa. I'm getting honeycomb, of course. It's called honeycomb black for a reason. I'm getting that particular honeycomb taste where you take the honeycomb and it's you know, dark brown. It's blonde in some areas, but there's those areas which are a little bit darker. So it moves into a little bit more of a treacly sort of note with just that hint of sugar bitterness, but just that hint in there just to keep it more adult and keep it more interesting to the mouth. So it has that real warm, rounded sweetness with that little treacly hit as well. And that is why we've called it honeycomb black. I was toying with the idea of making this a wildwood black because we're out of stock. We're about to go out of stock of wildwood black. Wildwood black, though, I tasted it against it, and it was quite a different taste. And wildwood black was Gushu. This is Dashu, so it's 50 years younger or so in terms of the tea trees. So I felt that wasn't the right thing to do. So we've called it honeycomb black. And I'm getting a lot of that honeycomb. I'm getting lots of honeycomb and lots of the candied nuts. Let's talk about this minerality because it's starting to develop. The quench that I get is the kind of quench which I really look for in these kinds of teas. Sometimes a criticism that you may level against Dianhong teas, some Dianhong teas, is when they are very bud heavy, when they're all buds, they can look very pretty, they can taste very nice in terms of its malty, milky quality. But sometimes for my tastes, they're a little bit too soft, and I'm missing an extra element of texture after I swallow. And another reason why I purchased this tea was because I really love the restrained but undeniable textural quality of that quench that just hits the middle to the back of your tongue, and then is replaced with, or is sets off this cascade of juiciness. And that juiciness is reminiscent of, if you take I think they're glucose tablets, sucrose or glucose tablets, those powdery, here we go, talking about powder again, powdery sugar glucose. You know, if you have a glucose tablet, it has a sort of cooling quality. I don't know why, but it feels like it cools down the mouth. And this has a really distinct cooling quality in the mouth. Now, right now, the center of my tongue and the back of my tongue, where that quench was, has been replaced with, it's almost like I've taken a mint, not the taste, but the feel of mint being rubbed on your tongue, that cooling feeling, that's right there. And it's so, so lovely. And it persists and persists with this tea. One of the advantages of not tasting fresh is that I know the character of this tea already, and I can tell you that it has one of the most amazing cooling feelings all the way down your throat, and even bizarrely into your lungs. It feels like it opens your lungs and makes you feel like, you know, the air is cooler. Back to taste, lots of chocolate coming through. But let's talk about the fruit, and I'm going to brew another infusion. As I speak, the kettle heats up. Well done, AI. It's not, but I feel like the Duanni has kept the minerality really lovely, softened it slightly, but it's still there and still enjoyable. And it's kept the really warm notes in terms of the chocolates and the oat biscuits and the caramel and the candied pecans. I'm looking now for development in terms of the fruit notes, and we'll see how the second infusion goes, because from my recollection, that was the case even with porcelain. The first infusion was very, very warm, but then the fruit notes appeared afterwards. I'm super happy about that design. The connection with you and the leaf, connection with each other, connection with whoever you share your brews with, and of course, very important and often forgotten, the connections that we, by just drinking tea, share with the, large number of people that are involved in this experience, from the growers to the pickers to the producers, to the masters who made the pot themselves. So all of those elements of connection, I think we are living in an era where we need to remind ourselves that we are connected much more than we are disparate. Okay, color. Look at that little bubble there. Bubble. Can you see the bubble? Come on, focus on the bubble. Come on. Color is getting a bit darker. Let me see if I can do the old torch trick. Come on. Here you go. Well, that doesn't really work. There you go, that's better. So it may look quite dark when you are looking at it like that, but when you look at it with the lights coming through, it's a lot brighter. if you can see that. The Jingdezhen porcelain is really, really lovely at showing off the light. Right, check I haven't lost my focus. If everything goes out of focus now, bear with me. Normal services will resume. Okay, second infusion from this golden Duanni pot. Cheers, everybody. Oh, tons and tons of that caramel and cocoa. It's like eating a chocolate digestive biscuit. Actually, I remember once, I think that they made dark chocolate caramel digestives. I'm pretty sure. So for those of you who don't know, digestives biscuits is a very famous biscuit in the UK, or cookie for those of you in the States. And it's, I don't know, how would you describe digestives? Is it similar to graham cracker? Not really. It's in the same ballpark maybe. And they make them with milk chocolate and dark chocolate, but I did think that they made a limited edition with some caramel in. And this is that. It reminds me of a chocolate caramel digestive biscuit. I am starting to pick up a little bit more of the flowers though. Those purple flowers are coming through. Again, I would put it in lilac territory. It's light, but it gives it a lightness, which I think is really lovely. And also, it's interesting. It's like the slightly woodsy quality of the tea starts to, as you brew into the leaf, starts to bring out some of the fruits, but the fruits are more in the realm of like apple skin, you know. So it's an aroma of fruit, but still got that woodsy quality or forest quality or orchard quality. So apple skin. I'm also getting a sort of raw carrot sweetness in the mouth as well. So it's this kind of, intriguing palette of flavors that I sort of throw under the catch-all of complexity. And that is why I broke my own promise and bought a Dianhong tea this year. And it is just very, very comforting, like a warm hug. Let's have a smell of the empty cup and we'll brew one more infusion. Just this rising warmth, but it's so comforting and comfortable and deep set. Okay. Chocolate malted milk. Over maltine. I'm throwing out a lot of brand names today. Over maltine. It's over maltine. For those who don't know, it's like a chocolate malted drink. Have you ever had over maltine chocolate, actual chocolate? Oh, I used to love that as a kid. It smells like that. Oh my gosh. I love that smell. Over maltine. So yes, very chocolatey. Yes, very caramelly. Yes, very nutty. But then those little apple skins and lilacs and that little carrot note is really, really lovely as well. Okay, one more infusion. I'm brewing this at boiling. I mean, I think that you can brew anywhere from 95 to boiling. With these kinds of leaves, they're large. You saw that they're large. I mean, they're still young pickings, but they are from definitely more established trees and have quite a fatness about them with the Assamica large leaf variety. And so you can brew hot. You might want to experiment with 95 versus 99. That's like the difference between, say, 205 and boiling point. If you're dealing in Fahrenheit, that would be what I recommend. Yeah, I mean, if you're bringing porcelain, maybe 95. If you felt like that minerality was too strong or it's not to your preference, you can soften it. That's the joy of brewing, is that you can tailor and react to your experience and tailor your parameters accordingly. Feeling good. Body sensation on this tea, I will tell you, is a deep set, comforting, quite meditative, zoned in body sensation, for me at least. And of course, it's always worth noting that body sensation is very personal to the drinker, but also to, you know, the time of day and what's been happening in your life, etc., etc., etc. But in my experience, having quite a few sessions with this tea, it's always left me with a really lovely sort of warm, comforted, meditative feeling and deep set. I mean, it really feels like it filters into every crack of your being. Yeah. More of those apple skins. Now I'm getting more of the flowers, more of the lilacs, but I'm also getting a slightly sort of greener floral note, and it reminds me of what's that called? Tiel? I think it's lime flower. We used to stock it. I don't know why we don't, because I really love that tea actually. I'm not sure why we don't stock that anymore. Lime flower tea. It's, I guess, a little bit similar to lemon verbena, but no. It's more, I don't know, lime flower tea. If you've ever had lime flower tisane, then you'll know what I mean. And that's just gently there with those floral notes of lilacs that we talked about earlier. Love hearts, you know, or Parma violet, I mean. Those sort of flowery sweets are there as well. There you have it. Yeah, very, very floral and sweet in the mouth now afterwards. It's really, and more is coming out. Notes that I didn't pick up before. A tiny bit of cinnamon. It reminds me of if you've ever had cinnamon gum, but like imagine you've chewed it for the whole day. So you've taken pretty much all the cinnamon out, but there's just this residual little cinnamony sweetness in there as well. Hadn't picked that up before. That combined with those lilac flowers is a really, really lovely, light, bright, and uplifting offset to the chocolates and the cookies. All right, I will leave you here. You can take a quick look at these leaves before we go, because they are worth looking at. I love the way the two-tone quality of these leaves becomes unified into one, this lovely, glossy, rich, sort of medium to milk chocolate, cafe au lait kind of color. It's amazing how, you know, you've got two different colors on the dry leaf, but as it hydrates, it becomes one. I'm not quite sure how that works, but it is a beautiful, beautiful tea. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you're around the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.